Barakatah YAHAWAH, BaHa YAHAWASHI, BaHa RAWCHAA QADASH. Welcome to another live lesson. So like the name of this one is Thou Wast as One of Them. And pretty much this is a direct quotation from the book of Obadiah. And this morning when I got up, that thought came into mind with that particular title, and I almost didn't write it down. Well, I actually didn't write it down at first, and the Spirit reminded me. So Barakatah YAHAWAH for that, and it prompted me to do a little research on this particular topic. And the topic is pretty vast, so I'm gonna try to condense it as much as possible, just to hit the fine points, to be able to give the edification on it. Because like I said, it's it's a vast topic, it's a little overwhelming, so just bear with me. And this, it could be an ongoing series depending on, if brothers want to jump on this topic. I found this particular PDF file what his Edomite was going into it, and it was interesting because most times when you go and you try to research the Edomites or Esau in general, they don't really give you much information on it, which we'll read a little bit of that at the beginning, what he says. But another thing too, you brothers out there that are the teachers, just if you do decide to do it, because I believe I put it in the description box, and if I forgot to, Lord's will, I try to post it in this in the comments here, so you brothers could click on it and just save it, if the Spirit hits you to do lessons on it. But one thing I want to say about this Edomite, he was going in on certain things, but then it seemed like a lot of times he was doing a lot of double speaking, and it's like, when you're reading stuff, people out there that don't have a discernment to be able to discern what's right and what's wrong, by the end of the reading, they're gonna end up being confused, and I saw that. I said, this guy does got a lot of damn double talking. I said, but nevertheless, Lord's will, we can hit the fine points in the article and bring out the sense of this, because it is pursuant to scriptures. Now, what I want to do real quick is I want to read where I got the title of this lesson for it, which is Thou Wast as One of Them. This is directly from Obadiah 1:11. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. And this, the title, the even part didn't come, just thou wast as one of them. And like I said, at first I didn't write it down, but then the Spirit, kind of like nudged me, write this down, So I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. And I think two precepts came to mind. I wrote them down real quick. I like to do the lessons early, as you brothers know out there, few sisters, but it's just today's been a little bit of a crazy day. So I'm just now getting to it because, like I said, this is a little overwhelming. But nevertheless, let's just get into it. Salaki, I just doing a little ranting, just trying to explain and trying to get it going. So what you're looking at the beginning was a map of the so-called Middle East. They call this the Syrian desert. You have the coast lines. You have the Mediterranean Sea. You have Samaria, Jerusalem, Judah, and further south you have Edom, Petra, And then you had the Nabateans, which were Arabs that took over that region of land. That's why today they say that the Edomites are Arabs because of the Nabateans, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. But we know through, research that that's not the case, because we know that the Ishmaelites are the so-called Arabs. But you do have some of these individuals that practice Islam, that call themselves Muslims and all that go back to the Ottoman Turks, the Ottoman Empire or the Ottoman Turks, which were Edomites that embraced the religion of Islam. So that's a whole nother history lesson there. Now, the PDF file that I have is here. It's called Bartlett, Edom, and the Fall of Jerusalem. Because really, when you look at Obadiah, the Obadiah, and especially in this discourse here from the 10th verse down to about the 14th verse, it's dealing with the Babylonians, which are the strangers in this case, and the sacking of Jerusalem and the taking away of the captives and the forces and all that. And they left pretty much. It's funny because the people that they left in Jerusalem and those surrounding areas were the poor, the farmers and the poor, the poor of the people, and they pretty much took the king, the nobles, the like the governmental parties, the higher ups, so to speak, of Israel into captivity into Babylon. All right, so I'm gonna read a little bit of this, try to get through some of it, and see, we can go. But before I go, before I read this, let's go to the very top, because I wanted to point out something real quick up here. This is Edom and the Fall of Jerusalem, 587 BC, J.R. Bartlett. It says here, now check this out. Historians of Edom labor under two serious difficulties: the shortage of archaeological evidence and the absence of Edomite literary or archival remains. And this is the excuse, there's a shortage of archaeological evidence, of these things. When you read the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, protocol number 16 says that they will erase from history all history that is unfavorable unto them, because they're trying to hide their past. And it's not by coincidence, it's not something that, it just so happens that there's not enough evidence of the Edomites, or there's not enough evidence to tie the Khazarian Empire to the Edomite Empire or the Edomite nation, even though even in the Jewish encyclopedias they tie modern Jewry with Edom, but we're just making this stuff up, right? All right, nevertheless, let's jump back down to the page where we were at. I don't remember what page it was, but I hope that, right here. So here it says, it is time to turn to Edom's behavior and the events surrounding 587 BC. And Zedekiah, when you read the scriptures, you know that the Babylonian Empire was coming up and they were going to take Jake down, because it was prophesied by the Lord YAHAWASHI. And this is pretty much the discourse that, or the prophecies that Jeremiah was speaking on. So he says, Edom, in Zedekiah's 4th year, Edom apparently joined Judah in discussing revolt. Jeremiah 27. I read the chapter. You could read it also. Edom's presence at this meeting may indicate Judah's need of support rather than Edom's willingness to give it. It says Edom may have agreed with Jeremiah's view that rebellion would bring disaster, for when Judah rebelled, on only Egypt, Tyre, and perhaps Ammon were associated with her. And pretty much what he's saying is, when you read that chapter, how the Lord told Jeremiah to tell the kings of Israel and the other kings of the other nations that, look, give yourself over to the Babylonians, because pretty much they're the next ruling power. And anyone that doesn't give themselves over to their rule are going to be destroyed. And of course, Jake didn't listen, so they were brought down. It says the obvious policy for Edom was to lie low and say nothing. Babylon could be relied upon to inflict considerable damage on Edom's old enemy without any active commitment on Edom's part. Yeah, that's true, but the Bible says different. Oh yeah, the Babylonian Empire was definitely more than competent and more than equipped to take Jake down and not need help from any nation. But the scriptures don't say this. The scriptures say something totally different. So that's why I said with this individual, he brings out some information that's good, but he double talks. It says, on the other hand, any help Edom gave Judah might have serious consequences. Consequences. Probably Jeremiah 40:11 provides the most reliable piece of evidence. I want to jump down a little bit. This is dealing with Jake was mingled around those areas. Relationship, people, destruction brought. Let's see. If the Babylonians campaigned as far south as Arad, the destruction they brought probably affected inhabitants of Edomite as well as Judite stock, and Edom would be the natural refuge for both Jews from around Jerusalem and Bethsur might escape across Jordan to Moab and Ammon. That's not the point. The point is that although some Edomites may have got caught up in there, which the scriptures don't really say that, but the point is that the Lord said that the Babylonians were gonna come in, we're gonna take Jake down, and Esau was gonna help the Babylonians. All right. See, we know what it is with these devils. They try to find hard evidence in history to try to, because they don't believe the Bible. Only time they believe the Bible is actually when, there's historical evidence, archaeological evidence that ties what the scriptures say to make it real in their minds, because they're not a spiritual people. And that's what they try to do. So because there's, according to them, not enough evidence of Edom and these different events, it probably more than likely didn't really happen. That's what the scriptures say, that they are forgers of lies. Other hard evidence for Edom's behavior in 587 BC is less easy to find than one might suppose. Yeah, because it's been hidden for the most part. And the Lord made sure that it didn't come out too much, because otherwise they would have destroyed the Bible. If they would have known beyond the shadow of a doubt that the white men are descendants of the Edomites, do you think that this Bible would have really been around? They would have burnt this Bible long ago. It says most of the passages usually quoted picture Edom's attitude rather than her actions. No, it did not picture Edom. It pictured Edom's attitude, but it also pictured their doings. That's why I said this guy does a lot of goddamn double talking. It says, and behind these complaints lies the communal memory of Edom's past enmity as much as any precise knowledge of present or recent wickedness. No, it doesn't. It gives both. I'm pretty sure you brothers are following along with this, that this guy is saying that there's really not much evidence as to what they're really doing, as what they've really done, as much as their attitude. No. The scriptures tell us what these devils have done. They've shed blood. They did this. They helped the Babylonians. What more do you need? Then it goes on to say, Lamentations 4:21, for example, says nothing precise. Okay, well, let's see if it doesn't say nothing precise. This was actually supposed to be later on in the text, because I actually wanted to get to Obadiah first before we got to this. But you know what? Let's just stop right there. And let's go to Obadiah. Let's read Obadiah. Let's see if it doesn't say specific things that the Edomites did. All right? Because now I'm starting to get mad, Obadiah 1:10. For thy violence. Now, is that an idea? Did it say because Esau was thinking about committing violence against against Judah? No, it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So what is this guy speaking about, that there's no direct evidence of anything that they actually did? It was violence. And what was the violence? Right here. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive her forces. Who were the strangers? The strangers were those Babylonians and their armies that came in to destroy Jake. It says, and foreigners entered into her gates, because they burnt down, they burnt this city, they burnt the temples, they burnt the books of the law also. This is why Ezra, in the book of 2nd Ezra, spoke about Lord, there's no record. So what the people now? Yeah, I can tell them, but what about in the future? So that's why the Lord had Ezra to pen down what he had to pen down. It says, and now listen. So these Edomites that committed violence, that helped these Babylonians that carried away our forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wasest one of them. So you were helping. So what the hell is this guy talking about? It's not an idea. It was an act. They were actually involved. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Then it says, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in a day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. So they actually came up in there. It says, yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. This is why these devils, you got to watch these devils, because they double speak. He's saying that there's no direct link. I mean, they had thoughts and ideas and they rejoiced, but they didn't actually. What did that just say? Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. What is that? Were they fantasizing about doing that? No, the Lord said that they actually laid hands on it. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. And they were physically grabbing our forefathers and giving them over to the Babylonians. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So come on, man. See, this is why you got to watch these devils, because these devils, they speak with a forked tongue. Yep, beautiful. The brother put it up. Zahab 144, Psalms 55:22. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And it also says that they are forgers of lies. All right? Now, let's go from there to the book of 1 Ezra, which is an account of what took place. 1 Ezra's 1 and 40. 1 Ezra's 4 and 20 and 43. Now this is after because the king, right? Darius, I believe it was Darius. He went to sleep and he woke up in the middle of the night, if I'm not mistaken. And you had 3 guards that were watching over the king while he was sleeping, that nobody came and tried to assassinate him. There were 2 guards, and one of the guards happened to be Zerubbabel, the governor of Israel. Because remember, some of the men of Israel got into high prominent positions, in these different empires to help Jake, to help our forefathers. So when each man gave the discourse, the first one spoke about wine, the second one spoke about the king, how strong they were. But Zerubbabel spoke about women and how they're strong because they give, they can get away with a lot of different shit and, just different things that happen. But he said, but the strongest of all is the truth. Because he said, the king is wicked, women are wicked, and wine is wicked. But the truth stands above them all. So when they got together and had this discussion among themselves, they said, look, let's see, who can give the greatest oration, and then they'll be clothed in purple or gold or whatever, put a crown on their head, have, whatever, and live good. So when he won, instead of claiming the prize that the king agreed to, this is what he said. Then said he unto the king, meaning Zerubbabel, remember thy vow, which thou hast vowed to build Jerusalem in the day when thou camest to thy kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart when he vowed to destroy Babylon, and to send them again thither. Yeah, because the Lord put the spirit on Cyrus to allow Jake to build back up the destroyed Jerusalem back then. And he goes on to say, thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldeans. So what the fuck is this guy talking about? That they didn't have no direct link. It was just ideas and thoughts. They didn't. God never spoke about and said specifically what they did and what they were gonna do. What the hell is wrong with this guy? Anyway, moving on. Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of who? Of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. And they were a part of that. Now, what does the word race it mean? Let's go to the Hebrew real quick. Race. It's irah. To be bare, be nude, uncover, leave destitute, discover empty, raise with a Z. Pour out. In other words, totally demolish it till there's nothing left. Raise. Completely destroy a building, town, or other site. So they completely they were cheering on the Babylonians, and they were helping the Babylonians, because we read in the book of First Ezra how the Edomites actually burnt down the temple. They helped burn the temple down. So they were helping the Babylonians. Now, when we go to the commentary on Psalms 137 and 7, dealing with the Matthew Henry commentary, right? It says, the pious Jews in Babylon, having afflicted themselves with the thoughts of the ruins of Jerusalem, here pleased themselves with the prospect of the ruin of their impenitent, implacable enemies, meaning the Edomites. But this not from a spirit of revenge, but from a holy zeal for the glory of the Most High and the honor of his kingdom. Now listen good. The Edomites will certainly be reckoned with, and all others that were accessories to the destruction of Jerusalem, that were aiding and abetting, that helped forward the affliction, Zechariah 1 and 15, and triumphed in it, that said, in the day of Jerusalem, the day of her judgment, race it to the foundations, down with it, do not leave one stone upon another. And they actually had a hand in doing that, because we just read in Ezra's that they actually put their hands on it. And then we read in Obadiah that they actually did these things. It says, thus they made the Chaldeans' army more furious, who were already so enraged that they needed no spur. Thus they put shame upon Israel, who would be looked upon as a people worthy to be cut off, when their next neighbors had such an ill will to them. And all this was a fruit of the old enmity of Esau against Jacob, because he got the birthright and the blessing. So these devils know. And this guy Matthew Henry, he could have been a Jake, because this goes back, But in general, these devils know about these things and the reason why Esau was doing what he was doing. And a branch of that more ancient enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, which shows you that they know, going all the way back to the serpent and the woman, which really was Cain and Abel, which later came down the line as Jacob and Esau. Come on, these devils know. Lord, remember them, says the psalmist, which is an appeal to his justice against them. Yeah, because this was this going to be for the future. Because remember, King David is a prophet, Far be it from us to avenge ourselves, if ever it should be in our power, but we will leave it to him who has said, vengeance is mine. Note, those that are glad at calamities, especially the calamities of Jerusalem, shall not go unpunished. Those that are confederate with the persecutors of good people, and stir them up and set them on, and are pleased with what they do, shall certainly be called to an account for it against another day, and the Most High will remember it against them. And that's why it's the best thing to do is just leave it in the hands of YAHAWASHI, because he can hit them worse than any man could do. He can make it worse for them than any man could do. So going back to Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. And they helped to destroy us. They helped to put us in captivity. They actually put their hands on our substance also. So it says, O daughter of Babylon, because the Heavenly Father is making it known that the Edomites are the daughter of Babylon. O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed. Yeah, because you will be destroyed. And ancient Babylon was not destroyed by war. It was just a transfer of power. You had Darius the Mede and Cyrus the Great that just went in there and pretty much took over. There was no major war to take that place down. So this is a future prophecy for the daughter of Babylon, which are the Edomites. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall it be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall it be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. All right. So that's the future judgment for the Edomites for what they did. So that's why I don't understand why this individual is saying that there's no direct, thing that they did besides just a thought, of doing these things. See? That's why you got to watch these devils, All right, now, let's move on. Now, we come to the lamentation. All right? So listen good. Lamentation 4:21, for example, says nothing precise. It says, rejoice and be glad. Well, let's read it in the KJV. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shall make thyself naked. Yeah, it doesn't say anything specific in this particular verse, because this particular verse is a sentence of judgment upon the Edomites. But why did he not say anything about the 22nd verse? So it goes on to say, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, which are the Israelites. He, the Edomites, will no more carry thee away into captivity. Is that not specific? Is that not specific enough? Because this devil here said that in Lamentations 4:21 says nothing precise, but he puts the 21st and the 22nd verse. Then it says here, Edom's iniquity is not specified. So what does this say? This is why you got to watch these devils, man. The scripture say, never trust thine enemy. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, right? He who, because we're dealing with the Edomites, subject matter. So he, the Edomites, will no more carry thee away into captivity. So that means that the Edomites carried the Israelites into captivity. Here this guy said there's Edom's iniquity is not specified. Well, what does it say here? We're going to read it in his language. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, dweller in the land of Uz. But to you also the cup shall pass. You shall become drunk and strip yourself bare. The punishment of your iniquity, O daughter of Zion, is accomplished. He, meaning the Edomites, will keep you in exile no longer. But your iniquity, O daughter of Edom, he will punish. He will uncover your sins. So what did it say there? It says he will no more carry thee away into captivity. So they led the children of Israel into captivity. So what is this guy talking about? He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And that's why you see what's going on in this society, that these devils, things that they've done, the Lord is shedding shameful spewing on their glory. I'm not quoting it verbatim, Salakia. All right, now let's go back here. It says Edom's iniquity is not specified. Well, we just read some specifics. It does not appear to be particularly recent. Zion's punishment is done. It doesn't matter if it's recent or not, because this is a prophecy. It's a prophecy. He led the children of Israel into captivity. The Lord said that he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of mine eye. This is the reason why in Isaiah 34, as he's going to speak about, it says that the Lord is going to deal with these nations because of the controversy of Zion. The controversy of Zion. What you did to the Lord's people, you're going to have to pay for. Edom's iniquity is not specified. It does not appear. It does not appear to be particularly recent. It don't matter. The Lord requires that which is past. Zion's punishment is done. Edom is still to come. Similarly, Isaiah 34 lyricizes over the sword which shall descend in judgment upon Edom, but there is no mention of Edom's crime. What more mention do you need? They burnt. Oh, hold up. What does it say here? I mean, am I tripping? Am I bugging? Am I just bugged out, or is this individual bugged out? It says here in 1 Ezra 4:45, thou also hast vowed to build up the temple, which the who? The Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. So is that not a crime? So what is this guy talking about? But there is no mention of Edom's crime. I don't get it. Lamentations 4:22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He, the Edomites, will no more carry thee away into captivity. So they led him into captivity. So why is this guy saying that there's no, but there is no mention of Edom's crimes? Unless in the case of they that take the sword perish with the sword. No. That's a part of it too. But the point is that we just read that they they burnt down the temple of Jerusalem. They led Israelites captive. They caught Israelites and brought them back to the Babylonians, Chaldeans, so on and so forth. What more do you need? It says, but Edom's reputation for coming out with the sword went back as we have seen for several centuries. Malachi 1:2-5 again reveals that the Lord hated Esau and that Edom will be called the wicked country with whom the Lord is angry forever. But no explanation for this is given. What is wrong with this guy? What is wrong with this guy? The Lord said that these are the people of my curse. He that toucheth you toucheth the apple of my eye. What the hell is wrong with this guy? The situation is not much better with Joel 4:19. There's no Joel 4:19. EVV 3:19. Egypt shall become a desolation and Edom a desolate wilderness. Wait a minute. Oh, all right. This guy is saying that there is no evidence of Esau and the things that he did. Right? And he's quoting scriptures that give you evidence of what they did. Let's go real quick here to Joel and 3:19, which he just quoted. Egypt shall become a desolation. I'm sorry, Egypt shall be a desolation. And Edom, the Edomites, shall be a desolate wilderness. Why? For the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. I mean, what the fuck is this guy talking about? What is he talking about? Oh, there's no direct. It says here, but there is no mention of Edom's crimes. I mean, am I bugging? You know? Oh Lord, man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Oh man. So it says the situation is not much better with Joel. They say 4:19 is really 3:19. Wolf emphasizes the part played by tradition in this concluding addition to the book of Joel. Both Edom and Egypt are long-standing arch enemies. Both feature with the catchword desolation. But why isn't he talking about, he says they feature with the catchword desolation, but why isn't he talking about that the reason why they're going to be desolate is for the violence done to the people of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land? Why is it that this guy is just so ignorant, or is he just playing the part and just leaving these things out? Because it's what these devils do. In earlier prophecies about the day of Yahawah, he got Yahweh here as Yahawah. He gives a bunch of, for Egypt, he gives a bunch of scriptures. For Edom, he gives a bunch of scriptures. The violence perhaps echoes Obadiah 10, the thought and present, if not the word, in Amos 1:11. Wolf concludes, thus this piece of the addition is also determined much more strongly by received prophetic words than by present distress. We are on no firmer ground with Ezekiel 25:12. Ezekiel 25 is a collection of 4 undated oracles. So, so this is why when you read this stuff, you got to be careful. So now let's go into Amos 1 and 6, because we're going to get to Amos 1:11, Lord's will, after. But I want to show you something that I found very interesting. The Spirit just had me run into this, which shows you that these devils know that, Esau are the so-called white people today. They know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's just the average person out there, and the spin doctors like Vocab, No Class Malone, James White the Edomite, and others of their demonic ilk. All right, let's go here. I just want to show you something. Amos 1 and 6. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Gaza. Now Gaza is a land where the Philistines lived. All right, these are Philistines. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity, to deliver them up to Edom. What captivity is he talking about? Talking about the Israelites. So why is this guy saying that there's no direct evidence of Esau's crimes that they've committed against the nation of Israel? I don't get it, unless he just has an agenda to keep the people stupefied. So what I did was I went to the commentary, because I wanted to see what the commentary said about this. We're going to read a couple more verses. So I went to the commentary, right? It says, concerning Gaza, a city of the Philistines. This is also Matthew Henry. It says, and now the metropolis of that country. Now listen good to this. This shows you that they know who the Edomites really are. It says, the peculiar sin of the Philistines was carrying away captive the whole captivity, either of Israel or Judah, which some think refers to the inroad made upon Jehoram when they took away all the king's sons and all his substance. 2 Chronicles 21:17. Now listen. Or perhaps it refers to their seizing those that fled to them for shelter when Sennacherib invaded Judah. When Sennacherib invaded Judah, and selling them to the Grecians. Joel 3:4-6. Or, as here, to the Edomites. I'm gonna give y'all a second to think about that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you longer than a second. I'll be right back. Think about that. Was that enough time for y'all to think about that? All right, let's read that again. We dealt with the Philistines and what this is speaking about, right? It says, or perhaps it refers to their seizing those that fled to them for shelter when Sennacherib invaded Judah and selling them to the Grecians, Joel 3:4-6, or as here to the Edomites, which lets you know that these devils know, all right, that the Grecians are Edomites. And there's plenty of scriptures or there's one particular scripture in the Apocrypha where Haman, Vocab Malone, is directly linked to the Macedonians And the Macedonians were, well, you had a group of kings in the Macedonian dynasty, which, you know, if all of them were Edomites, going back to the beginning of the Macedonian kings, that was around the same time that Esau revolted from under the hand of Judah. You know, so it's very possible that all of those kings of Macedon were actually Edomites, and that's how they started to get a foothold in Europe. Because remember, the Edomites took over Europe. You know, so Philip II, which is Alexander the Great's father, and Alexander, they were of that line. So they could have all been Edomites, or it could have just been that somewhere along the line they cut into that line like they always do. And then it actually links Haman vocab to the Macedonians. So let's read this again. Or perhaps it refers to their seizing those that fled to them for shelter when Sennacherib invaded Judah, and selling them to the Grecians, Joel 3:46, or as here to the Edomites. All right. Damn, man. Salaka for a minute. Ah, Lord. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we're still going because it seemed like the comment stopped, so I didn't know if we got cut off or not. All right, so that was just dealing with that. I just wanted, I thought that was very interesting how they linked the Grecians and the Edomites, which we've been saying that for the longest. All right. Now let's go to Joel 3:6, which this is what it reads: the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. So we know that they sold them to the Edomites, because we read in Amos, the first chapter, we talking about Gaza. These are the Philistines, and you read down here, this is Tyrus, which are Canaanites. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. So they did this, and these individuals that wrote this commentary, they linked the Edomites to the Grecians. Come on, man. But now people will believe it because it comes from an Edomite source. Like I said, this individual, Matthew Henry, he might have been a Jake. We've been saying he might have been a Jake because these writings go way back, but it's a whenever it comes from Esau, it's more believable to Jake. But whatever, man. Whatever. All right, now let's go to Amos 1:11. It says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword. Come on, man. Well, wait a minute, hold up. No, well, you're wrong, because here it says, where are we at? Excuse me. Hey, bear with me, brothers. The doves is flying. But nevertheless, it says, but there is no mention of Edom's crimes. See? There's no mention of Edom's crimes, but when we read the scriptures, there's all kind of mentions of Edom's crimes all over the place. All the bloodshed that he shed, of his brother, of the Israelites. But there's no mention of Edom's crimes. Makes you wonder what the hell this guy was talking about. Anyway, so it says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity. What does that mean? When you're pursuing somebody with the sword, and you cast off all pity. I mean, you tearing that person down until they're dead. And if you have whatever, and let's say you got a gun and you're shooting the person, you're gonna keep squeezing till there's no bullets left in the gun. That means you cast off all pity. That was a crime of passion. And why are the Edomites so passionate to come against us? Because we took their birthright, and we also took their blessing, which we read about in that commentary, which lets you know that which shows you that they know. It says, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Basra. You know? So the Lord is setting Esau up for destruction because of the things that they did. Now let's go to Ezekiel 25 and 12. Thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance. I mean, what is this individual reading? But there is no mention of Edom's crime. What is he reading? I'm serious when I'm asking this question. I'm asking this question to you brothers out there. I mean, am I bugging? Or is this guy bugging? Because he's saying that there's no mention of Edom's crimes, but we're reading all throughout the scriptures things that Esau did to Jake, and the reason why the Lord is going to judge them. It's crazy, man. But you know what happens? You have individuals out there that'll read stuff like this and they'll listen to Esau and they'll just say, "Oh, well, that does make sense because there is no mention of of Edom's crimes, so it does make sense." Because like the scriptures say, the simple believeth every word. The brother said, 144 bowed down to the slaughter for. He said, "No way, apostle." Yeah, because this guy is bugging, man. This guy is actually bugging. So you know what, brothers? Like I said earlier, you could probably do. I mean, unless you want to do something to offer this crap here, to make a point, But I wouldn't even waste my time, You're not tripping. I put it, in the description box just in case brothers want it. But after careful consideration, so let's read this again. Ezekiel 25 and 12. Thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Dan shall fall by the sword. And this is all a representation of America today, because these things have not happened yet. That's why in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, when we look up the word, I believe it's Edom or Esau. Let me see. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me try to see if I can look up Edom first. Yep, Edom. When you look up Edom or the Edomites, it says Edom figures prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future judgments. See notably Isaiah 34, 5 and 6, and Isaiah 63 and 1. She is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not promised any, who was not given, Salaka, any promise of mercy from the Most High. So this is gospel, because that is exactly what's written in the Bible, and these scholars came to that conclusion. That's why David Guzik, when he was confronted with that, he said that, that's what it says, the Messiah, when he comes back, he's coming to check, to get Esau. But then he said, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that's going to happen. He said something along those lines, which shows that although, I mean, he might be a Jake, might not, I don't know, but the point is, it was so compelling because it's a future judgment. And him being he's supposed to be a scholar, he had to agree with the text that's written. But then, you know, a lot of times with these individuals, when they don't want to accept something, they'll say that, and then, you know, it automatically disappears. Just like this guy right here. But there's no mention of Edom's crimes. All right. So let's read the Ezekiel 25:14. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, which this hasn't happened yet. And they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord power. So there's going to come a time when there's going to be vengeance exacted upon these devils because of the crimes that they committed. You know, because here it is, you're supposed to be our brother, but then you join forces with the Babylonians, and then I'm biting my tongue, so I said, but a ninja will jump up and say, I'm biting my tongue. A ninja will jump up and say, well, wait a minute, brother, you're going off. It said, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. You know, which they don't understand what this means. And that goes into a whole nother lesson, which Lord's will I can get to it, because there was a part in here that I ran across that I forgot about. It's been so long, of a particular scripture that speaks about the Syrians, and is really talking about the Edomites. All right. And this particular scripture here in Deuteronomy says Edomite, but it's really talking about the Syrians. And Doeg, when you go to the Septuagint, the Greek translations, does not call Doeg an Edomite. It calls him a Syrian. It calls him Syrian. All right, so let's go back. We read that. So there's vengeance going to be exacted upon you, Esau. Why? Because thou was as one of them. You're supposed to be our brother, and you took their side. So basically, fuck you, you know, kiss my ass. I'll kiss our ass. Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. When was this? During the time of the Babylonian captivity. So what the fuck is this guy talking about, man? See, I'm trying to understand what the fuck is this guy. But there is no mention of Edom's crimes. What is this? I mean, is this guy reading the Bible, or is he reading a Harlequin novel? Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Is that not a crime? Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord YAHAWASHI, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Said thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Because this individual is also saying that the Most High is not given any Edom's iniquity is not specified, which we just read about it. Lord, it says it does not appear to be particularly recent. Who gives a fuck if it's recent or not? Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Come on, man, stop playing. Chapter 3 and verse 14. I'm going to read this slow. I know that whatsoever the Most High doeth, or God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it, and the Most High doeth it, that man should fear before him. That which hath been is now, and that which hath been, and that which is to be hath already been. And the Most High God requireth that which is past. Come on, man. So the Lord requires that which is past. So because it's not recent, doesn't mean that the Lord ain't gonna require it. So it goes on. Well, that's the point right there. Now let's go to Jeremiah 49. And matter of fact, let me read 7 real quick. Concerning Edom. So basically, we're dealing with the Edomites. Jump down to the 12th verse. For thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. This the Israelites. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. And when we read further in the book of Obadiah, verses 15 and 16, it talks about how the nations, including the Edomites, are going to go into captivity. They're going to be as though they had not been. Verse 17, also Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. So if this was accomplished, how come people are not going through the land of Petra and the Mount Seir and all of that and being, oh wow, what a destruction that Lord committed upon this place? Why isn't it a place, you know, like Sodom and Gomorrah and the other neighboring cities, which they can't even really say specifically where these places are at? All right. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Because when America is totally destroyed, which is the modern day Edom, Basra, whatever you want to call it, Babylon the Great, there's not going to be anybody left here to dwell there as far as a man is concerned. Only desert creatures and what the scriptures call devils, which are unclean birds and unclean animals, unclean reptiles. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan. YAHAWASHI is coming back to fuck you up, Esau, against the habitation of the strong, because you are the strong. This is why King David said, who will lead me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Because the Most High gave him such a technology that no one can fuck with Esau, who was able to make war with the beast. But YAHAWASHI and the angels are coming back to fuck you up, man. YAHAWASHI, our big brother, is coming back to fuck you up, man, for what you did to us. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a man, a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom. This should be another. This should have been another scripture in the list of the Edom figures prominently to be future judgments, something like that. This should have been another scripture that was put in there. And his purpose is that he had purpose against the inhabitants of Teman, which are the wise men of Esau. Surely the least of the flock, which are the Amalekites, shall draw them out, because they're going to be the ones that's going to get you in such a pickle that you ain't going to be able to get out of it. And you see Babylon the Great, America, the Edomites, that anything that goes down, they quick to go help them out. Why? Because this place has been taken over a long, long time ago. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. So pretty much when the Lord takes his devil out, the earth is going to be moved. That's why it says, alas, alas, that great city. You know, it also said that the earth shall rock to and fro like a drunkard. So where's a historical record when the Lord destroyed the Edomites back then that this happened? It didn't happen yet, but it will happen. It says, behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle and spread his wings over Basra. So YAHAWASHI is coming to kick your ass. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men, which is your military of Edom, which consequently, Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Shai, I started adding Esau's military into the curses. I wasn't adding it before. I was adding the bankers, the international bankers, the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, all these false prophets, false brothers. Now the military of Esau is added into the curses, because they're gonna get jacked up too. So it says, and at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs, because you're gonna be finished. It's not a thing. There's nothing you're gonna be able to do. You're gonna be finished. You're gonna be totally devastated, totally annihilated. And remember, this is all being done for the controversy of Zion. Let's go real quick and finish out with this precept here in Isaiah 34 and 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. That's why it says in the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and 20, it says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. The heaven is the kingdom of Israel. And ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. And this is what we're waiting for. That's why it says this is the patience and the faith of the saints. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall not be found no more at all, because this place is going to be totally annihilated. It's going to go out by violence. They got this place by violence, and it's going to go out by violence. You see? So yeah, I mean, like I said, you brothers, if you want to mess with this, you know, you can, but you can see already the double talk that's going on in here, you know. And I've read a few pages in it, and I was like looking at the times, like, damn, it's 6 o'clock already. Let me get rolling, because I want to read. Actually want to read through the whole thing. It's only 12 pages, but I said if I read this whole thing, you know, and try to put this lesson together, I'm never gonna get to it. You know, so Barakateh HaLayam that gave me the ability, you know, and the presence of mind and the spirit to be able to do this lesson, because, like I said, it's a vast topic, you know, and that's why I could just go on for days and days and days. So the bottom line, as the name of the lesson is, thou was as one of them. Esau, you joined these devils, you helped these devils of the other nations, these Babylonians and these other nations, and you're going to actually receive the punishment for that and many other things that you've done. And this asshole here, but there's no mention of Edom's crimes, this guy is a bug out, because we read all throughout the scriptures the shit that these devils were doing. And that's just, there's a whole lot more, because there was a scripture I wanted to go to in Numbers 20 where it spoke about how Esau didn't let us go through their land. That's another crime, you know. But with that, you know, I pray that you brothers have been edified. You few sisters that still listen, you know. And with that, I say shalom.